Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie Eldridge. This is my Unit 5 group leadership assignment. The topic that we're going to be discussing today is military life, and it's going to be military-based questions. I have 3 volunteers here with me, so I will let them introduce themselves, starting with you.
Hi, my name is Alex Eldridge. I am 24 years old, and I am in the military, and I'm a military police.
My name is Lydia, and I've never been in the military. My dad was in for 22 years in the Air Force in finance. I'm 27, so I've grown up pretty much majority of my life being in the military family and military surroundings.
Hi, my name is Tyler White. I am 23 years old. My dad was in the military, and I'm a military police as well.
Alright, so now we have introductions. We'll start out with the first question that I have. Basically in this, feel free to elaborate on any questions you have. You don't have to follow this by any means. It's an open discussion. So the first one is, I'll start with you, Alex. What made you join the military?
At the time, I needed a job. I didn't have a job at the time, and I wanted education, and it provided kind of both at the same time for me. So it was a good wrap up.
If you had a job, would you still have joined?
Choice would have been different because I probably would have waited a little bit longer. I had a job offer for military police at the time, where I could have waited another 6 to 8 months for air traffic controller, and I probably would have done that. Hindsight's 2020. Probably would have done that.
All right.
But, yeah.
And Lydia, what about you? You didn't really join the military, but what do you feel maybe would have been something that you would have joined the military for if you were to join?
I would have never have joined. There's not enough money in this world that would make me join.
Why is that?
I've seen what it's like to be a military family member and what the actual person in the military has to go through. They don't make enough money for what they have to do and what they have to put up with. So they're the bottom man on the totem pole, so they make the least amount of money and it's not worth it. So,
Very good. What about you, Tyler?
Why did I join the military?
Yep.
I wanted to make my dad proud.
Okay.
When I was younger, that's all I wanted to do. You know, I found out he did a lot for me when I was a child, and it just was I felt like it was my calling.
Yeah.
And like them providing my school was a big benefit and a guaranteed paycheck.
Are you still continuing classes currently?
Not right now, but I plan to soon.
Good. All right, so we'll get into more deeper conversation here. I'll start with you this time, Tyler, even though you just got done talking. What has been the hardest experience that you're willing to share, if any, while being in the military?
The hardest experience, even though I've done it once, is moving. Because you make such great friendships. You know, the people you meet, it's hard to leave them. Even though I didn't leave all of them, I came here with a couple other friends from my last base, but it's tough because you make these ties with these people that you just, you don't want to leave. You want to spend the rest of your time in the military with, but you can't.
Yeah.
And
I
so
can see how that'd
it
be
was
really
tough. It was hard.
Absolutely. What about you, Lydia? What was the hardest? I mean, obviously your dad, but that you saw your dad go through, maybe.
I can't really say. I would say probably the stress factor. Him coming home from work every day and just being completely stressed out. From what his job is. I mean, not necessarily a fully stressful job, but I would say that's probably the hardest experience, I would say, growing up in any kind of house. Having that kind of stress slowly trickles down to everybody else in the house. It's what kind of mood are they going to be in when they walk in the door? Is it a good day or is it a bad day? So I think that has to play a big factor, and I would probably say the hardest experience, besides, of course, the moving and, picking up and getting new schools and making new friends. I got, the experience of being a kid. So being in school, you make new friends every day. As an adult, it's a lot harder to do that when you move, whereas when you're a child, oh, there's my new best friend on the monkey bars. It's okay, I can go do that. But I would definitely say stress is probably one of the biggest factors. That's probably a really hard experience for a lot of military families because it's something that's behind closed doors. and it's not something that's seen all of the time. It's behind closed doors, and that's one of probably the biggest problems in military homes.
Absolutely. What about you, Alex?
Trying to kind of piggyback off of both of them. Big factor is stress. I go to work every day, and I do like a security and law enforcement job, but due to the nature of my job, like, it's not like I can come home and talk about it too much. I could say vague things, you know what I mean? But like, I work a lot. A couple weeks ago, I was doing an exercise where I worked 80 hours in a week, and it's not like I got paid extra for it, but I still had to show up. Still had to show up at 4 o'clock, and in the afternoon, I didn't get off till 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna show up at 4 o'clock the next day, and it's a little tough. You get to move, and I was in Germany for 3 years, made a bunch of friends, but at the same time, I was there for 3 years. When I showed up, I met a bunch of people. By the time I left, they were all gone because they were all moving at the same time. They were moving, they left after 6 months or a year or 2 years after I'd been there, they were leaving. One of the best friends that I made, he was staying there for 6 years. So just imagine the amount of people that are going to cycle through his life. He's going to have to make new friends every year because the friends that you make are leaving because he's staying there. And he has to stay there for 6 years. I left after 3, so all those people that I left or left before me, they have to move on. I also got deployed. When you get deployed, you're gone for 6 months, and you're with, anywhere from 12 to 20 so people that you have to become really close with because you're working, 60, 70 hours a week at the very least while you're deployed. While you're deployed, you could very easily work 90 to 100 hours a week. There were several weeks where I was at work 90 hours. And it's not like I'm getting paid a little extra while I'm gone, but it's, there's still things happening. You're still having bombs getting shot, or rockets getting shot at the base. You still got to respond to these emergencies, things like that. So it's just a lot of different stresses from a lot of different angles. You have to deal with different kinds of stresses, from moving, deployments, doing extra training when you really want to go home and sleep, having different appointments. There's no other career field that you can do that there's so many different appointments and training that you have to accomplish all for your job. And that's a lot of stress, especially I know it's a lot of stress on my wife when I come home and, tell her, hey, 2 days from now, instead of working my normal shift, I got to work an extra 4 hours. And that's really puts a kink in a lot of our plans.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, how do you feel? Do you feel like it's just as stressful on your families, or do you feel like it's more, because you have the people who look at it and say, oh, well, you're a military spouse or you're a military family member. How can you be as stressed as the military member? But I feel that with you guys, how you're explaining it is actually it's a lot harder on your families as well.
Yeah, because, your family doesn't get told about it. You have to come home and then tell your family, hey, sorry, I have a no notice deployment. I got to be gone. I'm going to be gone for the next 3 weeks in Africa, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk to you.
Or deployed, and you think you're going to come home.
Or deployed. Yeah, they could be a deployment team that's set up for 20 people, and all of a sudden, it's 10 days from the deployment drop date where they're going to leave, and someone can't go because they broke their leg. And they chose you.
Yep.
So now I got 10 days to get ready to be gone for 6 months. That's an inordinate amount of stress. You have to do your finances, you have to tell your spouse, you have to do all these different things.
Well, and sometimes everything doesn't go the right way.
Exactly.
You'll be deployed for 6 months, and you're supposed to return on a certain date, and you tell your whole family, and then it ends up getting extended for another month. And then another month.
3, 4, or 5 months, and you're gone for 11 months out of a year.
And you never know when you're coming home.
Yeah. Lydia, has that ever happened to you? Has your dad ever deployed?
He got deployed once in 22 years, so we got lucky. He was gone for 6 months, but I grew up, it was a short deployment compared to growing up with family and friends, that, I have people that were military families that are my God family. We grew up, there was 2 different bases that we were stationed at together, and her dad was gone all of the time for birthdays, Christmases, Easters, you name it. He was gone all of the time. I can't remember a time where he was there all year round. I got really lucky with the job that my dad had. It wasn't as demanding with deployments and things like that. And then, it also depends on what rank they are on top of that, if they're needing in that rank. So we got really lucky with him only being deployed once. And that was my senior year of high school, which still sucked because, that's your senior year. You want your parents there for all of it, but, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So I got to email him every day.
Well, that's good. At least you had that kind of communication.
Yeah, so it's like, it's crazy because there's all kinds of different stresses in the military. Like, military police has different kinds of, like, finance probably has deadlines that they got to get things done.
Or people coming in angry because their pay is messed up.
Whereas, like, military police enlisted, we got to worry about our appointments and our long hours that don't change. Like, no matter what, someone's got to be working. There's no, all right, well, the cops get to take a day off. The cops have to be working 24/7.
Yeah,
I have never had a Christmas off since I've joined, and that's 4 Christmases I've missed.
Yeah, I've been at bases where my dad had to do gate duty because they were short-numbered with security forces.
Yeah.
They had to, and, he even had to, do all kinds of assignments because they were short, with that stuff.
And the officers are different, too. Like, we're enlisted, the officers... Like, our commander, the security forces commander, he gets called for everything. So whenever an incident happens, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, he's going to get a phone call, he may have to come in.
Yeah, they don't treat him any different.
And he's basically on call all the time, whereas, like, he has to respond to all these different security incidents and stuff like that. Yeah, we're working the shifts, because we're working shift work, we're working long hours, we're working 6 and 3 12s, we're working 6 days of 12s, and then we get 3 days off. That's a lot of hours that you're working in a row. And the commander has to do something very similar, except he's responsible for the 4 or the 100 or 400 troops that he's responsible. The last base I was responsible, he was responsible for near on 600 people. So whenever anyone got in trouble, he probably had to come to work.
Yeah.
So kind of switching gears a little bit here, because you're talking about, families being supported and, the military members as well. Do you guys feel that the military is supported as much as it should be, either by the U.S. and our upper, the president, the defense, everything like that, or and go all the way down to, let's say, your commander? Do you feel like you get enough support?
I think there's different levels of support, and I think there's only so much support that some people can give, because there's no real correct amount of support that someone can get. Every bit helps, that's for sure. But it's not like the country should just stop doing what it's doing and then immediately just support the military.
Yeah.
But, it's the military's got to do what the military's got to do. That's what we signed up for. That's what our job is, and we're going to do it as best we can. But I think, like, the civilians, they, showing their support every time you see a yellow ribbon hung on someone's front door, you know that they experience some of the things that you do. And, every time someone says, like, you pull out your wallet to pay for dinner, and someone might see your military ID, and they're like, hey, we have a military discount, we're going to give you 15% off. And it's like, wow, that really helps, because I don't get paid that much. And I have a lot to worry about. I have a spouse to support, or I have kids to support, and it's like, I only get so much money, and everything, like, helps. I'm not saying it's all about the money, but, like, even someone, hey, say thank you for your service, it means a lot to you. Do you get something very similar to that? Or?
Oh, yeah. In the military, like, I feel like it's hit or miss when it comes to, like, how much support that you get, or how much you think that you need, or how much you deserve, because everybody's needs are different. With me, I feel like I get a whole lot of support, but I'm only in the dating realm. With people with families, I hear so many different stories, and sometimes I feel like families don't get supported enough, but it all depends on the leadership at that point.
Yeah.
Because, it all depends on their commander. Right now, I've heard a lot of good things about our commander. So, it's all about who's in charge of you at the lowest level. And what he's willing to do and sacrifice for you. At the highest level, like you were saying, the president and so on and so forth, there's only so much that they can do for everyone because it's a big military.
Absolutely.
There's only so much that they can do for us. Yeah, he can try to change the pay, which sucks because he tries to change it because he's got to cut back, or he's like, oh, we have enough, we can give him more.
Cost more taxpayer dollars.
It's ever changing, so it's hard to say that we get treated well enough or we don't get treated well enough, or our families don't get enough of the time and appreciation that they need as well.
It's hard to put a price on how much your time is actually worth to you.
Because
those days where you spend 16 hours, is it worth it? Those days where you spend only 8, does it average out, or is it worth like those 16-hour days? Are those worth how much you're getting paid in reality or not?
So Lydia, you kind of have a different perspective on this. Do you feel that your dad got enough support when he was in? Or what you're seeing in the news, do you feel that the military is supported in your opinion?
I'd probably say that they haven't been supported as they should be. You can not support your government and the decisions that they make, but you should always respect the people that are doing their job, because it's their job at the end of the day. They don't have a choice in what they have to do. It's basically orders. Do you tell your boss you're not going to do something because you don't agree with it? No, you're going to do it at the end of the day because it's your job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people need to realize that just because they're carrying out something that's theirs, that they have to do, it's their task, it's their job, to have to do something like that. So I don't think people support the military because they look at it sometimes as a negative thing. I've lived in other countries where they didn't want military people there, and I didn't understand that at a young age. Like, hey, why are these people protesting, military people on, there? Why don't they, why do they want us here? Why are we here? So experiencing that as a kid and going, okay, well, it opens your mind to being like, okay, who's supportive of us and who isn't? And it's not necessarily the military and what they're doing wrong or, the support that we should give them. It's higher up that I think isn't giving them the support that they do need. So
yeah,
absolutely.
it's really interesting because like when I was in Germany, there were some people that would protest, and you'd see the same faces there every month. You know what I mean? They'd show up in Germany, they'd show up to the base, and they would protest
Right
outside the base.
Yep.
And yet you would go downtown and you would eat dinner, and you talk to the waiter, and he would realize that, hey, you're American military, and he would thank you. He's German, but he would thank you for what you do. He's like, hey, I know that you're not part of my country, but I realize what you do for the world, and I realize that what you sacrifice every day, and it means a lot that you guys are here in our country providing that extra level of, you're here actually protecting Germany as the American military. And I definitely had a couple Germans say that meant a lot to them, that we were actually there, and we were, spending money in their communities and providing that level of, community interaction with the people there. They got to experience a whole different part of culture that they wouldn't have normally gotten to experience.
And so did we, too.
Exactly.
At the same time, I will say that's probably one of the best experiences that I've gotten out of the military is that, I've gotten to go to other countries basically kind of for free. It's like you go to another country because it's your job, and you get to experience living in another country because it's, you're there for 3 years, 4 years, however long you're there as a family, and it's different. You're coming, you're going to another country. They have different cultures and manners and everything, and you've got to reestablish. You've got to realize, okay, hold on, you got to take a step back and realize some things that you do as Americans can offend other people, and you're in their country, so you need to be respectful. So
it's something that they do is normal to them, might be offensive to you, but you have to realize that, hey, they're not trying to be offensive, but they're just, they're trying to have a friendly conversation, but they said something that might have been like, you normally would have been like, whoa, hey, you know what I mean? But to them, it's like, hey, it's just a normal thing. That's just the way they live their life.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from everyone is that it basically is mostly kind of based on your opinion and how you are within the military, whether it be single and dating or married with kids. It just kind of depends on how much support you're getting and how much you need.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with higher ups and other people within the military, they don't know how to support that because they may not be in that same situation.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you, Alex, we'll start with you. Would you join again if you had the chance to? If you could do it all over, would you do it again?
If it was just on me, just myself, I would join. But after seeing the stresses it puts on my family and the time that I have to spend away from home, just even when I'm, stationed here in America, I'm stationed at my base. When I have to spend, 7, 8 weeks out of the year, I got to spend working 12s, where I'm, working shift work and I'm gone for 70 hours a week. Where just how much stress it puts on, and how much,
Time you don't get to spend.
how much time you don't get to spend with your family. It's a little rough. I probably wouldn't join based on that because it's a really big commitment. The military is a huge commitment that not many people can make. I'm glad that I did make the commitment because, if I didn't do it, someone else would have had to. And I'm proud that, I'm able to step up and do that, where I know someone might have stepped up into my shoes and maybe not have succeeded. You know what I mean? So I'm proud that I could have shouldered that burden. If you felt something the same way, where, you've been able to step up and do something like that.
I feel like there's a lot of people that join that may not have been ready, or they weren't meant for the military. I would definitely do it again. Some days I'm not as happy as I think that I could be in this career field, that maybe I should have waited for something else, but I feel like for the time being, this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
And people need me.
I know that I like the military, not necessarily, I love my military, I love the military and I love my job. I just don't think that they mix together, and I think that's what drives me away, because it's the combination of the two just adds up to so much extra that takes away from my
there's a lot of stresses
personal life.
On a personal, on one person alone. There's a lot of stress, and it's tough because a single guy in the military goes through a lot of stresses, let alone a person with a family, with kids and a wife. All these things. It's very hard. Yeah, it's a lot easier for a single person. So, in my situation, it's easier. I could say, yeah, I definitely do it again.
So you have you have a re-enlistment coming up, I assume. Are you going to re-enlist, or are you thinking that you might not?
I change my mind every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
I suppose that's with any job.
I know that I'm definitely not, because I know that I can't do this much longer for my family. I know that it's a job that pays well for my family, but it's so technically it's the military is providing for my family, but at the same time, it's taking away so much. I'd rather make less money and spend more time with my family than
potentially
make a decent amount of money,
make more,
but not spend any time with my family, because that's what it feels like. Because I work nights, so I have to show up to work I have to leave for work at 7:45, and I'll get home at 6:30 at night, and I'm only working 8-hour shifts. But you still have to show up early for work because of my job. I have to show up. I have to do certain things before work that requires me to be able to do my job. So my shift starts at 10, but I still have to leave at 7:45 to be at work and get everything done before work. Yeah. And that's not even accounting for an appointment that I might have at 11 the same day. So I get off at 6, but do I come home and spend a couple hours to sleep, then go back to base? Yeah. Or even the training days that I have. Do I do training after work? Like if my flight chief has training after work for an hour, that means I don't get home until 8. And then I still have to I still have to do that. If we have physical training during the day, that means I have to leave at 5:45.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if there's training until 8, and then I have to leave at 5:45, that's a normal day of work that I'm getting home at 8 and leaving at 5:45 and not getting paid extra for the hours. So where someone else who works on the outside is not salaried gets paid a little extra.
What about you, Lydia? I know that you're not personally in it, but did your father ever mention after he got retired if he would do it all over again?
I've never asked him that question, if he would do it again. He was in for 22 years, so I'm assuming since he re-enlisted every time, he went to school, he got his master's degree while he was in. He came in with a bachelor's degree and got out with a master's, so he did it for schooling as well, so I'm assuming he would probably do it again for that reason alone, for schooling probably. So
absolutely. Well, I thank you guys so much for being involved, and I hope that you guys got something out of the discussion. Maybe that you did it when you came back in. But thank you so much, and
appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Yeah.